so that we can all take part. If you love someone, we're all in the month of love. So if you love someone and you know that they need to be here, please kindly invite, kindly invite, kindly invite. Thank you. So quickly, I've just written a few things down, which I'll just quickly share, and then I'll hand over to our speaker for today. Good evening again, family. Thank you all so much for coming to the Love Month. Normally, we would have this. February is always open to everyone. So, male, female, uncles, aunties, or grandmas, grandpas, whatever it is. It's always open to everyone in the month of February and in the month of June. And tonight we're going to be looking at a legacy of love, protection, trust, and peace of mind. And the reason why I've chosen this is because I believe that love goes beyond emotions. You know, we need to be intentional about intentional planning to protect the people that we love the most. So, literally, if you say you love me, you need to have, done something, literally. So, this is not just caring about people while we're alive, but also caring about them for now and for the future. I think it's so nice and you feel so secure knowing that everyone you love is in safe hands. So tonight we're going to be talking about safeguarding your family, safeguarding your assets. We're going to be talking about a whole lot of things. I'm not the speaker, trust me, but the goal tonight is to ensure that your loved ones are financially secure, and not just financially secure, but also legally protected. I think that is the right word, because we cannot be financially secure. I can be very rich, but have I legally protected the ones that I love? Have I thought about it that if anything happens to me, and I know that most people, especially from the culture that we come from, we see it as a taboo, to talk about death. But I feel that it's such an important topic that we all need to start to have. I was telling someone yesterday, you need to talk about, like, if life happens to you, how long do you give your husband to move on? How long do you give your wife to move on? Make those conversations random. What would you like? I have a friend who has even planned everything, like literally even till the songs that they would sing, the colors, everything. And she's still living. So those are the things, not just for us, but even, just create that awareness. And tonight, we know PTB, we always bring those topics. And if you have any topic as well that you feel that you want us to talk about, I would always say, please email us at passthebaton@yahoo.com. So tonight, formally again, I implore you, sit down, relax yourself, get yourself a cup of tea, get yourself a cup of water, whatever it is. I'm going to pass on the baton to our speaker tonight. And let me just read. And thank you, PT, for the connection. So we are having a speaker who is going to pass the baton on to us is Tinu Owolabi. She is a protection advisor specialist with a passion for helping individuals and families to build lasting financial security. She focuses on protection solutions and trust awareness, giving clients and guiding them to make informed decisions that safeguard their loved ones and support long term financial stability across generations. Tinu is committed to translating complex protection concepts into practical, easy to understand strategies that bring clarity and peace of mind. And literally, that's the reason why she's here tonight, because we're going to go practical. So, our mission is simple: to help people to express love, not only through words, but through structured protection planning that stands the test of time. And I'm aware that, we have people from different places, from diverse places, and this may not be applicable to where you are. So, just going to put a disclaimer is that everything she's saying, she's here in the UK, but I believe that whatever concept it is, you can still use it wherever you are. So always legally look at the law wherever you are, but make sure that you also have something in place for your loved ones. So again, welcome to pass the baton for February 2026. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I do appreciate it. It's so good to be here. Good evening, everyone, and I'm really excited. I'm always excited when I share knowledge because sometimes at the end I hear people go, "Oh my word." I didn't know that was the case. And just that piece of information of knowledge being transferred for me is just it's vital because she was saying that about our community and how sometimes there are some discussions we do not like to have. And the fact of the matter is just a tiny little bit sad because these are information that, or there are events that, whether we like it or not, would happen eventually. Even if we live till 90 or 102, it would eventually happen. Now, if we have own things and, if we have things, if we have assets, what happens? And we have children, we're married, what happens? Sometimes it feels like we just glide through. But we need to do more than gliding. We need to do more than gliding because when we look at other ethnicity, everybody seems to have their affairs in order, and it's our turn. So we'll keep sharing this information until we understand, and then we start to act on them. So I'm going to share my screen so quickly. Okay, so perfect, great. A legacy of trust and mind. Hopefully I will try to keep it as interesting as possible and not bore you all. When it gets to item 7, I know that this is an information that a lot of people always to know more. So hopefully when there, I'll pick up interest. Can you all hear me? If you can nod, you can hear me clearly.
Yes, but it's kind of clean in and out. Or is it me?
Oh, that
Can anyone else
sad.
hear perfectly?
Can I hear me clearly? Yeah, if you can show by.
It is breaking on and off.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not just me.
Oh, okay.
Do you have a closed door where you are?
Yes, I do have a closer. You think the closer may have? It may.
Yes, sometimes it does. You can just open it.
It might be. So, sorry about this. My office is on the top floor, but the devil is a liar. Any chance that it's better now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Okay, great. I'll start. So, it is the month of love. As Sister Bumi has mentioned, and a lot of us earlier in the month got maybe dinners and flowers and just a remembrance that we're special to certain people. And as good as this is, love transcends more than that. So I am not talking more about the romantic love we all know or the emotional love. I'm going to be talking about the responsible love, the one that would ask questions. For instance, if something unexpected happens, what financial impact would it have on the people around us? And I know that if I ask, hello?
Yeah, go on. I switched off your video. I've just done that. Go
okay.
On. Yeah, that would make it work better.
Okay, fantastic. So, if something unexpected happened, what would be the financial impact on the people that we love? And I know that if I start to ask questions, a lot of us would say that we know someone who's died or something they've been diagnosed with an illness that they know. So personally, a friend of mine, I lost a friend of mine early last year. I was sad that from the beginning of her diagnosis until the journey with her. And it was sad, again, a bit more sad because she had 4 children. And I remember at the time, as an advisor, I spoke to her and said, what are your affairs and is there anything I can do for you? Unfortunately, she decided not to want to engage at that point. And the thing is because she was consumed by the thought of what the worst that can happen. And this is when we wait till when we wait.
It's still breaking. It's still breaking a lot.
Oh,
do you want to go downstairs? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I need to go. Maybe I should go downstairs and try to see if this. I am so sorry about this.
No, that's okay. So while we're waiting for her, with a show of hands, people who are here, just with a show of hands, what do you know about protection trusts or trust anyway? What do you know about any of these things? Because I believe that we all know what this is all about. Does anyone want to share? Share your experience. In fact, this is the second time that we're bringing this to PTB. I remember bringing this, I think, about 3 years ago, and I know a few people took, should I say, made a decision at the back of that. And we're bringing this again today. It would be something again that maybe in another 2, 3 years we'll probably bring again, just to keep reminding us until we get it, but not just getting it, but actually acting on it. And I think that's so key, that we're not just listening and saying that we understand it, but actually acting on it. And sometimes when I speak to people, people say, oh, it's expensive, it's the money and all of that. And this is what I say, and I'll say it here as well, that you need to look at it as a bill. Until you see it as a bill, you wouldn't, you just look at it as, oh, it's so expensive. But the thing is, the older you get, the more expensive it would be. So it's actually good to start early. It's actually good to just have it and keep on having it. And obviously every year look at the market and see what's the best thing in the market, but please treat it as a bill. Because if you don't, as important as your mortgage is, as important as the house rent is, as important as maybe your water bill, your electricity, your gas, if you see it as that, is actually even more important than that. Because we do everything that we do now. Most times, if you speak to someone, they would say they're doing it for family, for children, it's always family, family, family. So the question is, if we were to live today, have we kept that legacy of love? Do we have that responsible love, like she called it? So anyone, if you just want to share, what do you think today is all about? Or what do you understand? If you can put your hands up, please. What do you understand by what we're doing today? Anyone? What do you understand? What do you see this as? Because we're going to be talking about a whole lot of things. We're going to be talking about trusts, the types of trusts, probate as well. We're going to be talking about task. We're going to be talking about well preservation. And even though I know about this and I know a few things, I always still say I don't know it all, because I would listen to some things and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And because it's a law thing, it's always good to get yourself acquainted, understand it more and more, keep learning, keep listening to this kind of things, because it would give you a lot of peace of mind. And you'll be able to know that when we leave, family dispute, because you've taken care of things literally, legal complications will be minimized. You've taken care of things, there's clarity around things around inheritance, and there's a lot of clarity because you have actually when the Bible says that you make everything plain, you literally have made it all plain. So anyone wants to share, or it could be an experience as well that you saw or you knew. Anyone? Should I call names? Because we must look at the bigger picture of this legacy of love. Thank you. Yes, please.
I think it's more about, what's going to happen to you when you leave. So in terms of your money, your property, anything that belongs to you, if you need like a power of attorney, if you need whatever needs to be done basically after you've left. So like that's the legacy we want to leave for our children, so that they are not, they don't have the burden, because normally we'd look after our loved ones, like you said, but when we leave, then what have we left for them, so that they don't struggle to, to maybe pay whatever is left over, or just to make them even comfortable in terms of going forward in their future, and depending on, because some people, they're actually depending on you. And so when you've passed away, means that the roles will change. So we don't want that roles to change so much that they're not able to then cope with their day-to-day life, because we have children. Some children are still very underage. They can't even do anything for themselves. So we just want to It's a way of telling them how much we love them, really, because if we truly say we love them, then we're meant to leave something behind so that that burden is not on them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And one thing that I see about grief, grief can come at any time. Grief, I mean, in the UK, and I'm sure that's possibly like that in most westernized worlds, they give you a time to grieve. And for some, that time is not enough. But you know what? Life just has to keep going, because I know someone was telling me recently about, how they just had to go back to work. And that's because they had to go back to work, because you're thinking of all the compounding things that will happen if you're still staying at home. So it's things like that. So you're giving yourself that power to say, you know what, I actually have power over this. I can still stay and I can, continue. So I think our speaker is back. If somebody else wants to say anything before I hand over back to her, and let me know, sis, if you're ready. Anybody wants to say anything? Okay.
Great. Hope is better now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Great. So, you said how I was going to say already.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, okay, yeah, it was just so on point. I'm happy that everyone can hear me clearly. I'm conscious about that, but hopefully you can hear me and go smoothly from here. So let's start my video. Hopefully that would not affect anything. Great. So yes, it's a topic. When we talk about legacy, it is a very vast topic, and it's a bespoke topic. One is different. I said, with all due respect, some homes are dysfunctional, and that's what it's just not straight. At certain times when some it just actually will just be seamless from family that they come from. So that at the end of the day, I am able to provide a one-on-one service for people. I think touch today, and hopefully they can always learn from that. So I thought I'd begin Baby Punchy. I don't know if a lot of us have heard about this story that is going viral, of the little monkey whose mom disowned, abandoned. And he took up the teddy bear and would not let go. And I think in newer news, they're saying that there are some older monkeys taking care of the baby monkey. And I know that this, we're higher animals, isn't it? So we wouldn't abandon our children like that. However, it can translate to abandoning if there are certain things that you should have done and you do not do them. Because like Sis was saying, there are times when people have to do certain things because you have not loved them in the way that you're supposed to have loved them, which is responsibility, sacrifice, planning, provision. It says here, redefining love. Love is more than words. It is action. What have you said? So you can say to anyone, I love you. But it becomes more powerful if you know what would happen, or you ask that question, actually, if I wasn't there, what would happen? There are so many times I have spoken to people saying they're a couple and both of them, they're married, but one person's name is on the property. And I always say to them, do you know that, God forbid, God keep us. However, if this one person whose name is on the mortgage, if that person wasn't there, do you know that you don't have right to the house? And they'll go, but that's my that's my husband, or that's my wife. I would, my name is on the will. And I'm thinking it doesn't matter, because the other party's name was never ran. The bank did not run that person's name. If the bank didn't run that person's name, that means if that one party whose name is on the property, if they were to die, then the bank will come for the property, unless the family would say, we have the outstanding amount available to pay for this house. A lot of people don't know that. Planning is not being pessimist. It is actually care. In fact, for me, maybe because of my industry, I believe that the highest form of love is financial clarity. Can we all hear me? Because I'm just so conscious of the fact of that my internet decided to be funny today. But can we hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Fantastic. So like I said, the highest form of love for me is financial clarity, because confusion after loss adds unnecessary pain. People are going through loss and they have to move away from their home. They don't even know where to begin. Why? And the difference between putting something in place and not putting anything in place sometimes is so minimal, and sometimes it's just the awareness and the knowledge. Okay, so financial reality of the unexpected. If something happened yesterday. Now, I know that we'll be talking more about this today, and it's not to, be a Debbie Downer and bring everybody's mood low. It's just conversations that's we have to have these conversations. And then it comes back to what I've just talked about. If one person was to die, what happens? What happens to the mortgage? Do you have children who pay school fees? What happens to their school fees? Even something as casual as holidays, do you just stop going on holiday? Do they feel that impact because that person is not there? Firstly, it's already a bereavement. Then do they feel a more huge loss and that burden just because their life is not able to, to go nearly back to how it used to be? And what happens to living expenses? These daily expenses do mount up. This is the extreme example of death. There are other examples that are just not death, but they have financial impacts as well in a home. So let's look at, say, for instance, serious illness. Someone is seriously ill. I have a friend, like a senior friend of mine. He does a lot of things, including cargoing. And I remember reaching out to him to say, my brother came from Liverpool. I wanted to cargo. And I reached out to him and he just would not respond. And I thought, why is he not responding? And I finally called the number because I sent him messages on WhatsApp, and his wife picked up and, said to me that he had a stroke. And I was just gobsmacked. So I thought, okay, fine. I know his younger sister. So I called her to say, what happened? And she's like, it was so bad that he could not, he wasn't very fluent in their language. But when he had the stroke, he could not speak English. He could speak their language very fluent. It was, it was horrible. And then when I met with the sister, she showed me his pictures, his videos. He was a shadow of himself. The whole living room, they didn't have a living room anymore because they had to bring this structured, hospital bed to their house, and everything has been impacted. This can happen. So he's not dead. He's alive. However, there is a serious illness that has happened to him. Again, we're not going about our lives thinking that would happen. But what if it did happen? What plans do we have in place? And this conversation is just to evoke those thoughts. Do we have a critical illness cover in place? If anything happened, it can pay a lump sum cash of money. That lump sum cash of money can even have if people own their home, they could sort of do a proper room downstairs or something to just make life not too, to be bearable rather than unbearable. Another is income protection. Some of us, if we're not working, if we cannot work, we're not going to get paid. And some people actually are lucky enough to say, actually, if I'm not working, I get paid. But for how long? Because when there is a critical illness, it can take people off work for quite a while. So this is where income protection comes into place. If it did happen, it's just that thought that at least all of the things that we're paying for, we're not going to start a GoFundMe. We're not going to start going to our, maybe if we're, religious and we go to a church and start seeking for money every time. We can actually put something aside whilst we're, everything is fine and we're flourishing. We can put these things aside and make sure that if it did happen, we're there. Because even if you have savings, how long is your savings going to last you for? Now, protection is love in action. And I've just explained all those three things because those are the vital ones. Now, even though life insurance, like the name states, pays out a lump sum cash of money, mortgage insurance is slightly different, which I always advise for people who have a home. have an outstanding amount of, have a mortgage insurance that pays the outstanding amount on your mortgage. Because what happens is this: two people, let's say, for instance, a regular home with a husband and a wife, they are both bringing in income, both paying for the mortgage and all of the expenses. There's a life insurance. They have 300,000 life insurance. They give it to them. They get paid, God forbid, if one person dies. The mortgage gets, maybe the mortgage was around 300,000 or even 350,000. So yeah, they had 300, but they're still owing 50,000. And then this other partner then has to pay for the daily living. It's a lot because they are already bereaved. However, if people have a mortgage cover in place, it pays off the house and they still have something, even if it's 150,000, at least over the years, because some people have their last children as well, 8, 9, they're still young, 3, 2. So, and you want to cover that child until that child is what, 25, they will still go to uni. So one person should not have to bear all of this, even if that person is the main income owner. They still should not have to bear all of this burden. Okay. Now I got this is with the life cover. So it creates breathing room. It creates stability. It creates dignity. I was just talking about GoFundMe. It's not an easy thing to do, but sometimes families are forced to do it because, well, they don't really have a choice. Great. I know I had a whole mishap at the beginning, but one of the things I was going to say is that at the end, there'll be a time for questions, okay? So we talk about trust. A trust is written in love. Many people take out insurance. So let's come, I might have been speaking and people are thinking, but I've got life insurance. You mean, well, you're talking, I've got life insurance. I've had life insurance for 15 years. But then you ask them, is it in trust? And they say, what is trust? Many people take out life insurance. Fewer consider how it is structured. A trust is simply a set of written instructions that outlives the person. In fact, one of a way I have defined trust is that it's a way to pass on generational wealth. Now, in fairness to us, and I say us, I say it's, us, we are like second generation in the UK. So more than ever is the time for us to start to think of how we will pass on our wealth. A lot of people will say, we have a residential home, we have a buy-to-let, is in my name, the other one is in my wife's name. It's all in your individual names. Then what happens if they die? How is this wealth it's not going to pass into your children. Just like that, it's not automated. A lot of these houses that people own is mortgaged. There is debt on these houses. The real owners are the bank. So what have you put in place? What do you understand about all of the assets you're acquiring? Now, let me break down trust. I always use this example everywhere, and I want to be renowned for this example. And because I try to make it pictorial in people's minds so that when they think about the trust, they think about this example that I give. I always say to people, imagine a pool, a swimming pool. Imagine the swimming pool to be empty and to be public. It needs to be empty. It needs to be public. Now, when someone dies in the UK, the process is that everything that they own goes into what we call an estate. And again, people go, I don't own a house. I don't even have a lot of stuff. What do you mean estate? It's an abstract word when we look at this scenario. So everything that the person owns goes into this estate by law. Now, the reason it goes into this estate is so that people that this individual owe money whilst they were alive can come and take their money back. It's not everyone who wants to let it go. So you might have TV that you're paying for and you have a £200 amount outstanding and the company goes £200. That's nothing. You can have it. But it's not everyone who would say you can have it. The banks would not say you can have it. Now, that estate is supposed to be exposed, like I said, so that debtors can come and then the government can come. Rightfully so, inheritance tax. They have a right to it because there is a set of laws that they have put in place for you. If the person or the people don't know about them, then everything that you own is exposed. Now, trust then comes, wait, before I can talk about trust, this estate then goes through what we call probate. Probate is reconciling that exposure, the people who you owe and the things that you owe, reconciling both of them together. And that process takes a long time. This is why sometimes people will say to you, insurance don't pay. It's because the insurance company would not pay out to a trust account. They would only pay out into the estate. They will pay out publicly because, well, the person may owe money, so they would declare it to everybody, including the government. Everyone has to see that the insurance company paid, because if there is amount owed, it can be reconciled. Probate takes a long time. Sometimes it takes between 6 months to 1 year or 18 months. And this money is then tied down for all that duration of time. Estate, probate. Now let's come to trust. They are all intertwined. Trust is now saying, I am in this corner. I'm a gift. Trust simply means that person who owns these things, who owns the estate, has said, there are certain things that I own, but I have gifted it out whilst I was alive. Whilst I was alive, I gifted it out. For you to legally gift these things out is to put it in what we call a trust. And therefore, when people then come to that supposed pool, they will not see those things that you have put in trust. Quite simply put, they won't see it. So why are we not putting things in trust? And they're just paperwork, nothing else. Even let the person own whatever amount of money and owe more money. As long as the money that they have is in trust, not a single human being can go near that trust because it's legally binding. Okay? So we have the trust. A typical example of what can go into, and there are different types of trust. A typical example of what can go into a trust is the money that the insurance would pay. So when someone calls the insurance company to say, oh, we're bereaved, money is to be paid, then the company looks at it, it's in trust. And the moment that they see it's in trust, they ask the individual, where do you want the money to go? If they say it's not in trust, then they will say, sorry, it has to go into the estate. Now, with trust, yeah, there are different types. Flexible, absolute, discretionary. With these types of trust, I'm not going to go into it because, again, it's quite bespoke with these ones. But I just needed you to know the examples of what can go into trust. Another example that people always ask is, oh, we've got these houses. Can you go into trust? A living trust, yes. However, we have to again ask, do you owe money on that trust? Oh, yes, we do. It's a mortgage. Well, then you can't really gift it out when the bank, you're still owing the bank. So there is a breakdown. And then when it comes to trust, another very vital information that I tell people when it comes to trust is, I lost my mind. I lost my thought there. I was trying to think about too many things. Okay, I was going to say, when it comes to trust, another very vital information, I'll move on because it will come back to me. So trust is very, very wide, and it's the easiest way to pass on generational wealth. This is how other ethnic cities have been passing on generational wealth to their families. Sometimes people put it in what we call an absolute trust, where you can't even sell the property. It runs from family to family. Some people don't like the idea because they want their families to be able to sell it if they wanted to. Okay, so yeah, I'm not living. Okay, yeah, so just continue. Trust, like I said before, provides clarity. Now, another thing is this: when people say they have trust and then they have beneficiaries who are their children, one of the things I tell people now is you need to be able to teach your children what we call financial literacy. Without financial literacy, everything that you've worked for could go down the drain. So you've worked hard, you have these multiple properties, threshold. You have this multiple property. But then you've not taught your children financial literacy. How are they going to pass on the same generational wealth that you have worked for? How are they going to pass on to their own children? There are people that we know today, they have generational wealth because someone, I've gone to houses, especially Asian homes, and they will tell you this house was bought by my granddad, and they're living there, and they will pass it on to their own children. They have a high level of financial literacy, and they keep things within the household and the family. What I was going to say before that skipped my mind was threshold. It's very important that I tell you about what a threshold is, which is like a nil band rate when it comes to trusts. Because I know that certain times now when I talk about trust, people just go, oh my God, I need to put everything in trusts. There is a threshold for trusts. And the threshold. And the threshold for every individual in the UK is £325,000, upon which anything above that is subject to 40% inheritance tax. To break it down and calculate it further, we need to know what do you own? Now, when it comes to a home, a residential home, and inheritance tax, they don't like to really stress when it comes to the government. Now, remember that when it comes to your home, there are two people chasing. The one is the government, the other is the bank. The bank does not care. If you don't have the outstanding amount for their house, they will take their house back. The government, on the other hand, when it comes to inheritance, they're quite lenient. If it's a home that your spouse lives in, the objective word here is spouse, not cohabiting, not we're married back at home, not at the church, the pastor blessed us. You have to be married legally in the UK. When you're legally married in the UK, you have that threshold of 325,000. For a home that you're living in, you get an extra 175,000, making a £500,000 threshold on the home, just on the home that you're living in. And an individual living in a home of a husband can always pass on that threshold to the wife. And then the wife can always pass on both the 500, the husband's 500, her 500 to the children. So therefore, children who wants to inherit a home from their father and mother who lived in that house can have a threshold of 1 million. And what I'm trying to say essentially is that if the house is not over £1 million, you're likely not to pay any inheritance tax. However, if the client has buy-to-lets and other ones that are exposed, those will fall under being hit with the inheritance tax. Clarity prevents conflicts. A few people might have heard all these things I've spoken about today, and some people might just be completely new, like never heard. And that's just the difference between clarity and conflict. Because when there is clarity, everybody just knows what to do, and they will do it, and they understand it. Even I myself, I said to my brother the other, because I don't have a big family in the UK. And I spoke to my brother the other day. I explained it to him. It was quite a while ago. He's part of my trusters. And I was saying to him, this is how it works. This is what happens if that happens. It's like, where's that coming from? I'm like, no, it's not coming from anywhere. But it's a discussion to be had. We have to have this discussion. When I prepare a trust for all my clients, I send them a do not bend envelope, and then I have a sticker on it. And that sticker is their family. I state everything on that sticker. The reason is because, God forbid there's any problem. If the family picks up that envelope, everything inside there is clear. It is clear for them to claim. It is clear for them to be able to just move forward. Understand what trust is and be able to apply it, because there's something called expression of wishes as well. And this is where the person is saying, well, I've put these things in trust, but I have 4 children, or I have 5 children, or I have 2. How should it be splitted? What should you use the money for? It's not just dumping. It's just, okay, I have this buy-to-let. I have put money down so that this buy-to-let is paid for. And I've done this so that this is done that. Nobody should take the money until the last one is 25. Things are just broken down and explained. God keep us. If that never happens, then yeah, that's fine. But at an older age, something else happens. someone can come again and say, well, the individual is ill, and because they are ill, they would use their asset to care for them. And this is another conversation to be had at that time. I tell people, when you're 70, maybe your house is paid up full. If you're in good health, very good. What if you're not in good health and you need care? Well, they will look at your assets and expend all of your assets before they use theirs. So again, this conversation is just that we understand how things work so that when it comes to those times, we know what to do. Do we want to transfer what we own to our children at that point? Everyone, you keep buying homes. I see here people say, well, I've got 2 homes. I'm like, why do you keep buying your houses in your name? Seek advice, because no, you won't be able to pass on wealth. If you keep doing that, it will be a bit more difficult, is my point. Okay. So passing on wealth passing on wealth and generational wealth. Love is not generational wealth is not about being rich, it's about being intentional. Love is not about preventing loss, it's about building continuity. It's not only about preventing loss, it's about building continuity. And this is what I've been speaking about. Leave a legacy. Leave a legacy. L-I-V-E, you're leaving it. You're acquiring wealth. And we're quite hardworking people. But then when we leave the legacy, how do we leave the legacy? How do we leave it for the people that for the people that we love? Our spouses, our children, even our children's children. Why not? It says legacy is love organized. Protection, just like I've been saying, prevents financial crisis. Generational planning builds continuity. And together, they create peace of mind. If someone went to the hospital today and they said, oh, they are critically ill, God forbid, this and that, they can think, okay, I've got critical illness in place. I've got income protection in place. Maybe this would knock them out for 2 years. But you know what? Money is still going to be coming in. And if they couldn't, win the battle, well, they have life cover. It's in trust. Everything is just in place. Because if they were to die and everything is in place, well, it is great, because if they died and nothing is in place, they've just left their family in disarray. Legacy is not about how much you leave. It's all about how well you organize what you leave. Because the question is not whether we love the people in our lives. The question is whether our love is structured in a way that protects, directs, and sustains them. That is a legacy of love. Thank you. So this is where I open the floor for questions.
Thank you so much for sharing that. If you just stop sharing, please.
Okay.
That way we can all see each other. I've got 2 questions here that people have actually now 3. So the first one says that, I mean, you can put on your video as well.
Okay.
Maybe the bandwidth would have stopped. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So, okay, we say that was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the first question is this.
Sorry, I think you might need to enable me to start the video.
Let me do that for you.
Yes. Aha, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So the first one is, does this mean that mortgaged properties cannot go into trust?
No, it will be difficult. Sometimes they could, depending on their situation, but let's break it down. Let's break it down, because if remember that, let's say, for instance, someone has a mortgage and then they have a mortgage cover, which means that there is money to pay off that mortgage if they were to die. And then let's say they put it in a trust. It's called a living trust when you put a house in a trust. Okay. But what if they don't die? They don't die, but then they have financial problems. They have financial problems and cannot keep up the mortgage. How will the bank come for their house? Because now it's in trust. Do you understand? So, no, because the money that is owed. However, if it's paid off, why not? You can go into a living trust.
Hopefully that makes sense. The second one is, does this apply to money willed to relatives but still in bank accounts because the bequeather is still alive?
Okay. So what I believe they mean by that question, I like to use examples. When my friend was ill, she was paid an amount of money because she was critically ill and she had critical illness. When she deteriorated, I remember saying to her, move that money away from your account and put it in, your brother's account. But she didn't do it. So when she died, her brother called me and said, can I move the money? And I said, do you want to go to jail? No, you can't. So anything that is exposed at that time goes back to the pool. It goes into the estate. It goes through reconciliation, which is probate. Because it's exposed. They need to know that you don't owe anyone. Because if you did owe, including the government, they have to take it first before that money. The rest is then given to their beneficiaries. So if you don't want your beneficiaries to have what I would call, for lack of better word, the remnants, you want them to have the chunk, put it in trusts. And then no one is seeing it. No one is touching legally. Nobody can. I always use another example like the royal family. If you get married to them, you're not going to, divorce them and then inherit one of their listed homes. You can't. Or the king cannot just say, oh, I'm not going to, give the things that belongs to Williams. I'm not going to. No, it's all been planned. And it goes in that way. And you can't say, oh, I think I prefer Harry. I'm going to give. No. And this is what happens when paperwork has been done and it's in place. It is that lack of knowledge that is not making us transfer wealth. And then the sad part is where you get a family who was paid and not paid fully, then they will go, but we got something. No. You were supposed to get everything. So if you were not getting everything, then it's a shame because the whole money belonged to you, to your children. So we're getting this information now so that we can begin to act on them. It's not about just listening. Read about these things, act on them. If you already have insurance, check if it's in trust. If it's in trust, even if it's not up to the threshold, at least it won't go through probate. So let's say, for instance, someone has 200,000 life cover. It's not up to the threshold, but it will go through probate. But if it's in trust, it won't go through probate. It gets paid to the family sometimes within a month. They can use it for the funeral. They can start to use it. They don't have to wait for that length of period before the family can get the money. Okay?
Thank you so much for sharing that. I can attest to that because I think it was recently I had a conversation with someone who lost someone, and literally what he said, the mortgage, the bank, as soon as the person died, there was nothing. There's nothing like, oh, we would like to. It was literally they just went straight into his accounts, took money out, and she was just explaining things to me. And how could that have happened? So I kind of think, yeah, that's the reason. I'm going to go to question 3, but before I do, let's ask Pastor Maureen to unmute, please. Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, and I just want to really commend I want to really commend our speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have heard so many things along this line, but it's just wonderful to keep hearing it.
Yes.
And you did a great exposition.
Thank you.
I love all your examples. Now, the question I want to ask is to do with because this is an area that I'm really, really interested in. I'm in my 60s, so it's an area of interest. So I was reading an article, and it said that the council actually took a family to court because they thought that they had put their property. I'm not sure because it's been a while and it has been a question, but basically they were contesting the trust that they had made. And so this family was saying that they were wrongly advised to put their property or assets into trust because now the council is coming for it to say that they need to pay for the care of the person involved. How do you handle that, or where did they make the mistake?
So for that sort of scenario where I don't fully know what's happened, because then is it a council house?
No. So, like when people want to go to the home.
Yes.
Yeah. So, like the council has a say in it, I think, because this was like their property, their assets. And the council does not want to pay towards the care because they thought that they deliberately put their stuff into trust and they pay sort of like a percentage or the bigger percentage of their care.
Yeah.
And it's something that is popping up a lot. So it's been a question on my mind for quite some time.
Yes. So now I have a better understanding of what you've said. So, I did give a few examples, but I think I touched on that care, didn't I? I did touch on it.
Exactly, you did.
Yes. So for me, what I can infer from what has happened is, maybe they've had a diagnosis, something has happened, and then they want to do it. They went. Do you understand? Then they went ahead. The thing, because you can't really challenge a trust because it's really legally binding.
Okay.
However, it's just like when someone gets a diagnosis and quickly says, I want to do insurance, quickly insure me. If they find out that they had a diagnosis, then they would say, no, that's fraud. So if the council had proof that they waited till then, and then this is what we're talking about, paperwork. Do you understand? If we wait till when those things happen without action, then they might find themselves in those sort of scenarios. Because again, when it comes to properties and all of that, I'm not a property advisor. But one thing, I have peripheral knowledge about these things. When you want to pass on wealth, there's so many ways you can begin to. And one of the ways is because you want to begin to transfer to children, there's a normal transfer. The transfer where you have to be alive for 7 years. So there is that one where you transfer to your children, but you have to be alive for 7 years. And in the process of that 7 years, as the 7 years is going, the interest, the inheritance tax that is taxable begins to reduce up until the 7th year. The clause is that you cannot transfer a home to your child and continue to live in the house.
Really?
No, you can't.
You have to move out.
Well, because you said you've given it, and why are you living there?
I think I need to visit a few friends.
However, there is a clause. The clause again is that unless you can prove that you pay rent, and you've always paid rent.
Okay.
So there are knowledgeable things about these things. So wait till the end. Then if you now need care or things like that happen, and nowadays when I ask people, do you know what a special purpose vehicle is? They're like, what? I don't, never heard of it. But then they keep acquiring houses in their names. Acquiring houses in your names translates to the fact that you have a big, fat estate that is exposed, the swimming pool.
Wow. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's clear.
No worries.
Thank you.
No worries. Someone wrote the Asian do. I don't know what they mean by the Asian do.
They live in their houses and pay rent, I think she's saying.
Okay.
So the third question, what does exposure to inheritance tax for buy-to-let over $1 million mean, please?
So if it's let's say one parent, a mother, let's use an example of a mother. who is transferred wealth, who is the residential home. The children are the adult children are now inheriting the home. The threshold is 500,000, right? If it's a couple, then it's 1 million. So if the house is 1.4 million, it just means that 400,000 has 40% inheritance tax that will go on it, and it's inevitable.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
Question number 4. Would the bank give you the equity on a house as a child when the parent passes on?
Is there the outstanding amounts available to pay the house? If there is none, they're not discussing equity with you. Equity, they are taking over the house. No, there's no discussion of equity. It's only the government that discusses equity with you when it comes to inheritance tax. The bank doesn't. They won't sell the house and say, oh, this is what is left and take it. Have the outstanding amount available to pay for the house. The bank does not discuss equity
Thank you.
on
That
a
makes
house because
sense,
they
yeah.
own the house.
Because you haven't finished paying. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Especially like buy to let. You've
Yeah.
not even scratched the surface.
Yeah. Because you've been doing interest only. Makes
Interest
sense.
only. Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so next question. I'm gonna ask this too, but I don't want to miss this one. Does it mean it is best to buy properties in a company name? And let me just add to that.
Yeah.
Because obviously I know we're talking about this recently, especially with the new government laws and everything.
Yes.
So if you've had a property in your name and
Mm.
then you now want to transfer to a company name, because you would have to still pay stamp duties, isn't it?
Yes. If I was on social media, I'd say clock it. Yes.
I know. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. So, can you purchase the properties in your children's name?
No. A new property in the children's name, a minor in the UK, no.
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 Because it's you they're giving the loan to, not the child.
Exactly.
Anyway.
And it's you that are running and this is why it is the same for couples. Someone can say, the husband can say, when I try to put my wife, and I'm not being a sexist, but either party can say, when I try to put my partner's name or my spouse's name, our interest rate went high because they have a bad credit. And therefore it had to be only in my name. And because of that, then, well, you have to have a mortgage. You have to have a mortgage cover. Because if you don't, it is just a risk. It's a delicate exposure.
I think basically, so what you're saying is financially, even though we're married, but the system sees everyone as individuals.
They do.
Until, yeah.
Okay. And trust, some people say will. We talked about will. Most of the times, will is, works alongside with the estate, is exposed. But just remember that the things in trust are usually not exposed. And someone who dies intestate without a will, then the law of the land will follow suit, which provides a lot for the spouse and then the remainder for the children, which is good. However, if that's not what people want, then they need to put something in place to alter that. So you have someone, which, I have a client who has children and then got married after she's had children, and then the person she got married to has got his own children. That's great. It's a great blended family. But then she owns the house. So who gets the house? If she wants the husband to get the house, so be it. That's fine. If she died intestate, that's okay. If that's not what she wants, then then there's got to be paperwork to say that's not what I want. And this, I just like to say, I keep saying it, we shouldn't just know these things and just know them. We have to act and do something about these things. Otherwise, the law of the land will come and they would, people say, then they'll go, but the lady had 4 children, they don't care. Because they just feel like, well, you should have gone out and sought for advice, be advised, and then do the things that you were supposed to do. If you didn't do them, then you cannot cry now because it wouldn't bother anyone.
Thank you. Next question. So how do we ask our insurance to put interest?
So they will always tell you to go back to your advisor, which your advisor should have done. I do trust, but you know, you can contact. I'll leave my contact.
Yeah,
And
someone actually asked that, do you do trust services? So I was about to say that one. Yes, she does.
yeah, so I'll leave my contacts, and if anyone wants to want me to have their contact, you can private send it to me. You can send it to Sister Bumi as well, so I can have your contacts and you can have my contacts. Because what we do as well is, you know, you might have a cover that you want to put in trust, but it has to be reviewed first. What do you even have when we reconcile it with your status, with your present status? What do you have? Do they align? Because trust is legally binding. Okay, you can't cancel trust. Someone says to me, "Oh, really? I can't cancel. Why do you want to cancel a trust? It's all good. There's no bad to it, so you can't cancel it. It dies with the policy if you don't want the policy anymore. So we'd look at your policy. Is it good for your present status? You know, some people had life insurance and then they've moved to a bigger house and it's still the life insurance of 1988 that they still have. So we reconcile it. If it's good, fit for purpose, we'll put it in trust. If it's not, then we advise.
Thank you so much. Is it advisable to transfer your wealth to your spouse and children before you pass on? It's what you're saying anyway.
Yes. You begin to put these things in order. What do you own? And this is that question. Remember the question I asked, if something was to happen yesterday, let's walk it, you know, if I say to someone, God forbid, if something happened yesterday, walk me through it. Most of them go, I don't know. Some people say, I've gone, they should sort themselves out. But if you have a big portfolio, you should understand what can happen. I have a client who has 3 homes, all in his name, no insurance. And I thought, nah, you won't even believe what can happen to your family if anything did happen to you today or yesterday. It would be devastating. And for someone who can own 3 houses, that means you have quite a lot of money and you've just not done anything about it. So from the person who is asked that question, if you have a big portfolio, I might not be able to advise you on everything that is your, but at least I can direct you. Because say, for instance, living trust, I don't do living trusts. Putting a home in a trust, I don't do it. But I will tell you this is what you need. But then again, it has to be mortgage free. So I can tell you all of those things. But if it's just regular, you know, policy trust, then we can discuss that.
Thank you so much for sharing. For existing insurance, can we ask our insurer to transfer to trust?
They won't do it. You have to. It's your responsibility, not theirs. Because they will always say to you that they don't want that responsibility. And some of the people who pick up the phone will tell you that we're not financial advisors. So this is why I said you have to go back to your financial. Somebody must have done it for you, unless you went online to do it yourself, which is never advisable. So you go back to that person or you contact me.
Thank you so much. So those are the questions that I have for now. If anyone else, if you have a question or you're not sure about anything that has been said tonight, please kindly use your reaction buttons so that you can just ask your question. Or maybe you have something that you want to share as well. Yes, please go on. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Question is there something like payment on death from the banks here in the UK?
Payment on death.
Yes.
I don't even know what that means. Payment, like who do they pay on death?
The bank, you nominate maybe your children or you nominate someone and then payment on death from your bank account. Does that?
Yeah, you could, but what we're talking about is that the account will first become an estate account.
Yeah, I understand that, but I just wanted to check because I think in some countries they have something similar. So I just wanted to know if it happens in the UK.
Yeah, you could, because whoever. So, for instance, say someone has a will, they have executors, or they have trusts and they have trustees. They have someone representing them who could be denominated. And even if they didn't nominate someone, the family can say, "Well, I am the family member. This is my ID," and the bank will be, willing to release the money, but after it's gone through probate at the very end, then they can release the money.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, my friend who who passed on, her account is still in probate. But everything that was in trust has been paid over maybe 7 months ago. But our account right now, the solicitor is just dragging it. So the money's still in there. Sorry. That was me setting my timer for my speech. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else? But I guess back to that question that she asked, it would be after the debts have been settled. So if the person was owing.
Yes. So remember that the probate is the job of a solicitor.
Yeah.
So the solicitor, they usually will charge like, well, I don't know, 5-10% of the estate. So they would drag it and drag it. Is somebody still that, and they want more things in the estate. Like they wanted all the policies in the estate. My friend's brother didn't understand. So he thought, oh, Tinu, they're asking. And I thought, no. He said, you expect me to say no to her? I said, no, I'll do you better. I'll send you an email, just to forward it to her. And then he forwarded it to her. And she did, because she came as with all due respect, she came like a sheep. And he thought that was the right thing to do, to put the money in the estate, because he didn't understand the segregation. I'm like, no, you don't. He's like, really? I said, no, you don't. He's like, but she's asking. I said, because of her 5%. Bless her. The bigger the estate, the better it is for her. I said, no. So I just drafted an email and said, forward that email to her. And then she backed down. She's still going to get paid, but that's on whatever is left on the estate.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Anybody else? Questions? Addition? Well, someone says this is deep, LOL.
It is deep. And
it's just so much. And this is not just the UK, by the way, because this is everywhere. But obviously, legislations differ, but it's the same, literally everywhere. Wherever we are, whatever we're doing, let's just keep talking about it, keep mentioning it, keep reading. And I feel that it's a topic that you can never finish learning.
No.
So you just need to keep knowing and act, like she said, act.
If I can just add, I know, because this is one story that I know people resonated with, which was, the gentleman, bless his soul, who died alongside his wife and his child on the same day. And he was a very rich Nigerian man. And I think he maybe owned a bank or something. And I remember that someone had said, that the family were left out. And one of the relatives had come on TV to talk about it and all of that. And I listened. But you see, this is where it is distinctive. And I'm saying that because we spoke about people from other countries, but what was distinctive when I listened was that this man had prepared somewhat a trust, something, and he had used his friend or business partner. So when the sister said to that, oh, I'm a lawyer and I went to Stanford, it was irrelevant. Are you part of the trust? You're not part of the trust. You can be the person's twin. It doesn't matter. And that's what I keep saying to people. Because then sometimes when some family members think that they can't be bullied with that paperwork, it would put things into perspective. If you're not part of the trust, well, no one is going to talk to you. So this is another way to protect for people outside of the UK, where families can bully you into taking things when things are in trust and the paperwork is there. I don't know how it would be enforced, but then if that person is not part of the trust, there's no discussion. They might be shocked, but well, there's no discussion to be had because they are not part of the trust.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Tracy. Yes, it was Abet Wigwe. Correct. Thank you. Anyone else? Maybe you want to share something or you have a question? I think we've heard so much tonight. Can beneficiaries be part of the trust? Yes.
Fantastic. Yes. So you need to understand that when I got to the types of trust, I sort of skipped it because one of the things I am aware of is information overload. I really try to sort of dissect it in a way where I want people to, pick enough interest to want to know more. The reason is because if I give too many informations, then some people will just go, I don't even know what she was talking about, even though I still feel like when I talk like that, People still think it's a lot of information to grasp. So this is how a trust works. The first person is the owner of the trust. I have an insurance cover. I own it. I am called a settler or a donor. That's me. I then choose people who I trust. The objective word here is trust. The reason is because when you do a discretionary trust, they can go against what you want. But if they go against it to your benefit or the benefit of the people you love, then that's okay. And I always say to people, don't choose one trustee, choose three, choose an odd number. Just advisable, if there is a tie, they can always break it as an odd number of trustees. Remember, they're not the ones who own the money. The people who own the money are the beneficiaries. So what ages are the beneficiaries at the time, if anything happens? Are they extremely young or are they old enough? So these are we don't know. But your trustees can be one. If you're married, your spouse, the other spouse should be a trustee. I mean, people say, I don't trust. Well, then, unfortunately, the people who, bore the children. But some people say, oh, we're divorced. Fair enough. Then don't make her or don't make your spouse, the ex-spouse, the trustee. Then you have to choose a family member. And that time, there's something we call family income benefit. You can do a family income benefit if you're divorced and let that person earn an annual income. And then the bulk of the money can come when the children are older. So you see, this has structure to like individual people. That's why I kind of, So when you said our beneficiary is part of a trustee of a trust, yes, they own it, but the beneficiaries own it. However, the trustees are the executors. And remember, they can change what you want because they have the discretion, just like the words say, they have the discretion if they thought that what you wrote doesn't benefit. So we love our children. They are young and cute and lovely. God forbid, they're exposed to the bad, company that doing drugs. Who's going to give a 300,000 to a child who's doing drugs? You can have a trustee go, but is the child's one, just give it to him. But you'd be thinking that's not when the parents will that, give that 300, always cute and not and great at the time. They're still great now, but their choices are, questionable now. So you can have a trustee you want trustees who can withhold something that would just not say, because you know that if you give that person the 300,000, they're just going to squander it. Should we give the older child? Should we give the younger child? What can we do? See those discussions. So that's why when you choose a trustee, you have to choose someone who, I say to people, they don't have to be your best friend, because your best friend might just be a yes. What's mom? Please recognize sign. No, you don't want that. You want a thinker who has the best interest, an upright individual, not just to you. There's some people, they're not necessarily good to you. They're just good as a human being. And they love your children. Those are the people you choose as your trust. Because if you're going to set up a trust, you have to get trustees. Without trustees, you can't set up a trust.
Thank you so much. So I guess you've actually answered a question when she said not beneficiaries, trustees.
Yes.
Because trustees are actually part of the trust.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yes, please, Mr. Grace.
Yeah, good evening, and thanks for your contribution so far. It's been very educative. So I know someone that's elderly, and I know they have a will. And in this will, they've made allowance for children, for grandchildren, and they have executors. So what's the difference between an executor and a trustee? And how does one select trustee? Because this person has not put, anything in trust. And not only does this person have bank accounts here, bequeathed to different people, he's also got, back home in Nigeria. And and he also owns homes. And, in his will, I believe he's just, he's bequeathed different homes to different children. So in a case where someone lives here but has property, he co-owns a property here and also owns several properties in Nigeria, and he's bequeathed things to different children and grandchildren in the will. How does one of this trustee issue with that?
Okay, so with this person and the amount of things that they own, I feel like they need to have like a and I understand they're elderly, but they need to have a one-on-one to break down and give a bespoke service. However, if I was just going to look at it in, summary and say, okay, in Nigeria, I don't really think I don't know if they do probate. I don't know if they have the facility to reconcile, or the probate is just for paperwork. I really don't know how it works. Here, it comes back to the same thing. So will and trust are not the same. Trust hides your money, your things legally, is not exposed. Will just says whatever is in your estate, this is who should get it. Do you understand? Can the things in the trust show in the will? They can. It's fine, it can. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. But it can show in, But if he co-owns, is it fully paid for? Then it will go through probate. If he co-owns with a spouse, it will not go into it. The spouse is leaving. It's a leaving spouse. It would not, unless it was over £1 million. So kind of like ties back to what I've said. It would go, remember the pool? Everything goes into the pool. If it doesn't go into the pool, it's because it's in trusts. If it's a residential home, what is the threshold? Did he own it with a wife, a legally married wife? Is the wife alive? Then the house is left alone. Unless, see, even if the house is over £1 million and the spouse is alive, they tend to leave the house alone. The people who suffer the brunt are the children when they want to inherit it. Okay? As long as both of them own the house, they leave it. The spouse is very important. Okay? But when the children, grown children, then wants to inherit, then we check. Are they living in the house? If the children have moved out the house, they are not subject to that cover. It is only when they are living in the house. Then they have the £1 million threshold. And if the house is more than 1 million, then they have the 40% inheritance tax on anything, on the amount of £1 million.
And I just wanted to say, yes, someone just said it. They do probate in Nigeria. And yes, it is true. You need a good lawyer. And it's exactly the same thing. It's 40% as well of everything. So it's the same.
Fantastic.
And okay, yeah, she says will is still a discussion that many are not interested in, obviously in Nigeria, but yes, it's 40% as well in Nigeria. I know that. Someone says, what if all trustees are normal by the time the children need access to the trust fund?
Yeah, actually, I read it. So it's two things. When I read that question, two things came. If the trustee was alive when the donor, the owner dies, hopefully they should have execute. So I'll give you an example of, my friend. We opened a trust fund account. At the moment, a lot of strip banks are not opening trust fund account, but Metro Bank does. And we use the Metro Bank to put the money. So the money is there now. The children's names are there. The trustees' names are there. If one trustee should die, the other two would continue. Okay? And hopefully the children, if the other two dies, unfortunately, the trust money is still there. There should be a legal guardian, and the legal guardian can be added as a trustee to continue to keep the money. At some point, if they were all dying, quite not possible, but if he did. But if the trustee dies before the donor, so the person who owns the trust is still alive and then one of their trustee dies, sometimes people even fall out. They used to be my best friend, but they're not my best friend anymore. I want to remove them from my trust. We can do that. That's why we don't do absolutes. Absolute trust, you cannot alter it. Discretionary and flexible, we can alter it. Can remove people's names and put other people's name back in.
Thank you so much for that. What if the property is jointly owned by two friends?
Works the same way.
Same.
But when they are owned by two friends, are they living in the house or are they using it as buy-to-let? So if they're living in the house, there's a part where it says you're splitting your what's it called? Splitting your,
Friends.
exactly. So it depends on what you filled out. But you cannot pass threshold to each other. And remember, even if you're married and you're not legally married, you can't even. So if you're cohabiting or you're married, the pastor blessed your marriage, but you don't have any legal proof. You're not even entitled to that, talk less of friends. So you can have other coverings, but when we're talking about passing threshold, friends cannot pass on threshold to each other. Unmarried couples cannot. I know a couple who got married recently. They've been married, their first child is like 22. They were like, we never just got married, but we now know that for tax purposes, we needed to get married. And they got married. So two friends doesn't matter. They cannot inherit threshold. No.
Thank you so much. Please, can you kindly repeat that again? What is she repeating, Pastor Della? If you can, let me just find you and unmute you. She said a few things, so I'm not sure what she's repeating. Do you want to quickly? Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you so much. This is so brilliant. Yeah, I wanted to find out, you mentioned about money that was put in for younger children in Metro Bank. I think I moved away a bit from my phone, so I didn't really hear that. If you can kindly repeat that again.
Okay. So we're talking, sometimes you hear people talk about trust fund babies. So trust fund account. So when an insurance money is paid, even if it's 500,000, it can go into somebody's account, one person, like a trustee's account. The only thing is, it's better it goes into a trust fund account. With a trust fund account, before any money is removed, everybody signs. So I was just saying that at the moment, a lot of the hedge fund banks are still doing trust account, but the high street banks are really not doing the trust fund account anymore. However, Metro Bank is still doing it. So some people, if you have financial literacy, some people have so much cash in their account. It could be in a trust fund account. It can have some things applied and levied on it, but at least it's separate from you. You understand? Because if it's in your account and it's a lot of money, it's exposed. But if it's in a trust fund account, then it's there. But we open the trust fund account after the death of the mom, of their mom. So the money is still there as we speak. And we use Metro Bank because they are the only, at least, I believe, high street bank who still does the trust fund account.
Does that make sense, Pastor Della? I guess it does. Thank you.
Okay, she said great.
Yes, please, I wanted to ask as well. So, for instance, if I have money,
yes,
and I want to put that money in a separate account so that money, if I'm not there, that money can be shared among my children. Because I have 2 adult children, how would that work? Do I involve somebody? For instance, if I have to put it in this trust that you talk about with, for instance, Metro Bank, do I need to involve somebody else as a trustee, or the 2 adult children can just be the trustees?
Very good information, which I should have highlighted. A beneficiary, someone who benefits, can both be a beneficiary and a trustee as long as they are adults. So an 18-year-old, 19-year-old can both be a trustee and a beneficiary. So you don't have to. The only reason you could involve someone is if you think that they have conflict, like they don't agree and they're always fighting. Then you can involve an authoritarian in this scenario who would execute it. But by all means, put the money in Metro Bank. Trust Bank doesn't pay interest, but it doesn't, but then you don't pay capital gains tax. That's why you're using a trust fund account. It has its benefits. So because the thing is, otherwise, what account do you want to put it in? if it's for other people, for children, or you want to give that at a particular time, at a latter time, and all of that. Yeah.
So the benefit is outweighing the risk, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because imagine if it was in one of the trustees' account, and then something happens, and then it gets direct debit start coming out of it. But with the trust, a lot of people, it goes through sequence for withdrawal. In fact, for the lady who just spoke, just know that they do a credit check as well for anyone over 18. And if they have a bad credit, they won't put their name on it. I know that's a bit, but it is what it is.
Thank you. At what time can the children use the money?
Based on your expression of wishes. So this trust comes with something we call expression of wishes, your desires. What are your desires? What do you desire for these children? Put it down. But like I said, can they override it? They can. If a scenario was such that they have to override it. But otherwise, your trustees should go with your expression of wishes.
That makes a lot of sense because they can override it because they are the trustees.
Yes.
Okay. Does that make sense, PD? Hopefully it does. Oh, so good. Thank you. Any other question? I think it's been a really good night.
Yeah.
And with all the Q&A, I've learned so much as well. And I believe that everyone has learned something. I will be sharing a number with you all, or she can even you can put it on the chat as well.
Yes.
So that way, in case if somebody invited someone, then at least they can get it. But I will still share a number. So you can feel free to reach out or to be our clients. It's all good. Any further question? Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for dialing in. Thank you for also sending this to others. And thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. I haven't missed anything. I think we've answered all the questions. But again, I ask if you have any other question before we call it a night. If we can just all use our reaction button as well, just to, okay. Oh, she says, thank you for a brilliant session, which is fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that's about anything else on the chat. If we use our reaction button, please, to just say thank you to our speaker tonight.
Thank you.
So much arts and love and thank you and celebration. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, we can call it a night. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, thank you for dialing in. Please remember especially if you are not receiving any PTB updates, the YouTube link is there for tonight. Please do like, share, subscribe, and comment. And we also have the flyer that is there. You can just go in there and put in your details so that you can continue to receive PTB updates from us. Please do remember that the physical PTB conference is July the 11th. The flyer should be out next week. Please write your name and number if you want me to ring you. Yes. Also, if you want her to ring you, you can share your details as well, and I'll definitely pass it on to her. And if it's your first time of joining Pass the Baton tonight, we just want to say thank you. We normally meet every last Friday of the month, and we discuss everything, women issues, things that are impacting us as everyday moms, wives, ladies, daughters, sisters, whatever it is. Thank you so much. Tonight, actually, we've included a meal. We normally would include them every February and every June for Father's Day and February for the Love Month. So on this note, I want